In this video, I've put some practice questions on general science for you to prepare for this ASVAB test. Which of the following biological classifications is the largest and most inclusive? Phylum, kingdom, class, or family? Now, before we answer this question, let's define what a biological classification is. So a biological classification is also known as taxonomy. This is the scientific system of categorizing and naming living organisms based on their shared characteristics and evolutionary relationships. And it helps scientists identify, study, and understand the diversity of life on Earth. In these biological classifications, they use a hierarchical system, meaning that organisms are grouped into increasingly specific categories. And the major ranks are domain, what we call domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So these are the different classifications of organisms, or what we call the hierarchical system. And these taxonomy ranks run from largest to smallest ranks, and kingdom is the largest. So the answer here is kingdom. So the first one, or the largest one, is the kingdom, and then the next one is phylum, the third one is class, then the fourth one is order, then family, genus, and species. All right, I just ranked this according to the choices here. But actually, we also have domain, which is the highest level of classification. Sound waves will travel the fastest in a medium that is the least electrically conductive, the most dense, the least dense, or the most electrically conductive. The answer here is the most dense. The speed of sound is directly proportional to the density of the material through which it travels, with the speed being faster in more dense materials. The cell membrane is a structure composed primarily of protein, DNA, lipid, or carbohydrate. The answer here is lipid. The cell membrane is a lipid bilayer and is composed primarily of two layers of lipid molecules that are lying opposite to one another. The cell membrane does contain some protein, but not very much. Muscles in the human body require what energy compound to function? NADH, ATP, RNA, or fat? Now, before answering this question, let's know what these in the choices are. So when we say NADH, this one stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So this one is a crucial coenzyme that plays a vital role in cellular energy production. While ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, and this is the cell's primary energy currency. And then we have RNA, which stands for ribonucleic acid, and this is a crucial molecule that plays various essential roles in living organisms, particularly in protein synthesis. And lastly, we have fat. Fats are essential nutrients that play a vital role in our health. Fats are also known as lipids or fatty acids. Now let's go back to the question. It asks for the energy required for the muscles in the human body to function. So muscles consume ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, in order to function, which is the primary energy molecule found in the body. ATP can be produced from many sources, but the most common one is ATP production from glucose or sugar. So the answer here is ATP. Newton's first law of motion states that objects in motion remain in motion unless acted upon by an outside force, and objects at rest stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. This statement is also referred to as the law of momentum, friction, inertia, or force. Now let's know what these are first: the momentum, friction, inertia, and force. Momentum is a fundamental concept that describes the quantity of motion an object possesses. It is the product of an object's mass and its velocity, or shall we say, it is a measure of how difficult it is to stop a moving object. And now, what is friction? All right, friction is a force that opposes motion between two surfaces that are in contact, or we can call it as a resistive force, meaning it works against the direction of motion. Now, how about inertia? Inertia is a fundamental concept in physics that describes an object's resistance to changes in its state of motion. So this is the tendency of an object to maintain its current velocity, which means that an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion with the same speed and in the same direction. And this definition fits the one in the question here. So the answer here is inertia. Newton's first law of motion is also referred to as the law of inertia. And inertia is the tendency of an object to resist change in motion. And lastly, force. Force is a fundamental concept that describes an interaction that can change the motion of an object. So it is essentially a push or pull that can cause an object to accelerate or change its velocity. Ascorbic acid is also known as vitamin E, vitamin B12, vitamin C, or vitamin A. So the answer here is vitamin C. Vitamin C is also known as ascorbic acid, and ascorbic acid is the chemical name for this essential vitamin, while vitamin C is the more common descriptive term for its role in the body. Both terms are interchangeable and refer to the same substance. So ascorbic acid is the same as vitamin C. Which of the planets has the longest revolutionary period around the sun? Which of the planets has the longest revolutionary period around the sun? Saturn, Earth, Mercury, or Neptune? The answer here is Neptune. Neptune has the largest revolutionary period around the sun among the four options here provided here. Its orbital period is approximately 164.8 Earth years, while Saturn's orbital period is about 29.5 Earth years, while Earth's is about 365.25 days Earth years. This is for Neptune. And Mercury's is about 88 Earth days. Which of the following is not a fruit? Tomatoes, carrots, peppers, or corn? Now, what is a fruit? So a fruit can vary depending on whether you're talking about it from a botanical perspective or a culinary one. So in botany, a fruit is the mature ovary of a flowering plant that contains seeds. So this means that anything that develops from the flower of a plant and holds seeds is considered a fruit. That means fruits have seeds. Well, among the choices here, carrots don't have seeds, and therefore they are considered as vegetables and not fruits, or not a fruit. Two objects on Earth are dropped from the top of a building that is 70 meters high. Object A has a mass of 12 grams and object B has a mass of 6 kilograms. Assuming there is no air resistance, which object will hit the ground first? Both objects will hit the ground at the same time. Object A, object B, or there is not enough information to determine an outcome. Well, it is indicated here in the problem that there is no air resistance. So without air resistance, the only force acting on the two objects is the Earth's gravitational field. Consequently, the acceleration of both objects A and object B is independent of mass, and every second both velocities will increase by 9.8 meters per second, or for the acceleration due to gravity, that is 9.8 meters per second squared. So given that both objects are dropped from the same height, which is 70 meters, they both travel at the same rate. So they will both hit the ground at the same time. So it doesn't matter what object A or object B weigh, since the objects are independent of mass. So the answer here is this one. Both objects will hit the ground at the same time. The product of force and distance is momentum, power, velocity, or work. The answer here is work. Work is just equal to force times distance. If one tectonic plate slides under another, the process is known as orogenesis, abduction, subduction, or inversion. Now let's define each of these words here from the options or choices first. Now, orogenesis is also referred to as orogeny. This is essentially the process of mountain building. This involves folding, faulting, volcanic activity, or uplift. And this is often associated with the convergence of tectonic plates, such as continent to continent or continent-continent collisions. Say, for example, the Himalayas, or continent-ocean collisions, the Andes, ocean-ocean collisions, which forms island arcs. So the result of orogenesis is the creation of orogenic belts, which are elongated regions of deformed rocks that form mountain ranges. Now, how about abduction? Now, in the context of plate tectonics, abduction is also called abduction. This is a less common and more complex process. This involves the overthrusting of oceanic crust onto continental crust. So in essence, instead of the oceanic crust sinking or subducting, it is pushed or abducted onto the continental plate. And now we have subduction. This is the more common process. It occurs when a denser tectonic plate, usually oceanic, slides beneath a less dense plate, either continental or oceanic. And this downward movement of the plate into the Earth's mantle is a fundamental part of plate tectonics, driving many geological phenomena like earthquakes and volcanoes. So the answer here is subduction, if one tectonic plate slides under another. But what is inversion? So in the context of plate tectonics, inversion refers to a specific type of structural change, primarily concerning sedimentary basins. The law of conservation of energy can be restated as which of the following? The total energy of a system always diminishes. The sum of all the forces is equivalent to the amount of energy in a system. Mechanical and potential energy share an inverse relationship, or energy cannot be created or destroyed, only changed. So the law of conservation of energy states that the total energy of an isolated system remains constant. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change from one form to another. So the answer here is this one. Now, which of the following cloud types occur at the lowest altitude? Alto cumulus, stratus, cirrocumulus, or cirrus? The answer here is stratus. So stratus clouds occur below 6,000 feet.